was asked here today to share with you some of the findings that we had in a research line. And with we, I mean, we're there. Yeah, also my partners in crime, Sigrid Lindenberg and Linda Steg, and numerous students and other colleagues. Now, the idea that we were working on, the hypothesis that we were working on in the Netherlands, which is based on goal frame theory, basically states that if we see that others didn't respect a certain norm, this will weaken our normative goal, our goal to act appropriately, making people more hedonically driven, more gain driven. Now, we know and we've seen in the presentations before that people tend to copy the behavior that the majority is showing. Also, research in norm-violating behavior shows this. The beautiful work of Cialdini, for instance, shows that people are more likely to litter in a littered setting. However, this hypothesis implicates that when we observe one norm being violated, we are also more likely to violate other norms. There is that spreading effect. Now, we wanted to test this in a field experiment, but we also wanted to do this in a very controlled setting. So have the benefits of field experiment, but also have the control you normally have with lab studies. The first experiment that we did was we looked at the impact of graffiti on littering. We attached these flyers to the handlebars of bicycles. It was a very crappy flyer. You don't want to keep that. And we looked at how many people would litter this flyer. And would it be influenced whether it was graffiti in that setting, yes or no. So on a Saturday night, we went out, sprayed the graffiti there. The thing is, I didn't put up the Mona Lisa there. Reason one, I don't have the skill. But the most important reason, well, it could be implicated as being art in a way. We don't have the implication that graffiti per se is leading to norm violating behavior. No, it's the cue of disrespect that does. So let's look at the results. Graffiti free, 33% of the people, 69% when the graffiti was there. Big impact. But now, let's be critical. How compelling is this evidence? We can think of a couple of alternative explanations. One, it might be that persons that are there think, well, it's already a dirty environment. It doesn't matter whether I litter the flyer, yes or no. Just throw it on the ground. Another reason might be that people are thinking, well, there is graffiti here. Apparently, people will not sanction me for doing norm-violating behavior. It is an indication of sanction probability. We wanted to rule out these factors. Just look at the core. So we did numerous studies. We tested this in different settings. We used different norms, different cues of disrespect. We looked at, for instance, pro-social norms of being friendly towards other people in companies, etc. And it's basically also showing a similar idea. Now, one of the last studies that we did, we wanted to see, this is all good and well, littering, etc., but how far does it go? Would it even induce people to, for instance, steal? So I had this envelope, which contained €5, which we hung from a letterbox. We don't have that much funding, so it was copied money, which is kind of hard to do so. All alarm bells go off, but it looked very real. Now, we wanted to know how many people would take this envelope with the money. And would it be influenced by these cues of disrespect? It did. No graffiti condition, 13%, which I thought was a lot. And you can't imagine the people taking the money. Not this woman, but a lot of them did. 27% with the graffiti, just litter 25%. The effect is less strong than in the beginning, but still it almost doubled the number of people taking the envelope. So what can we do? How can we reduce the impact of these cues? Let's look at one that is normally used. Our first line of defense, I'd say, it's the prohibition sign. The idea is make the norm salient and it will be more influential. However, does it work? It didn't. Actually, it had a reversal effect. What you're doing is you're putting up this sign, but you're focusing people's attention on the fact that nobody respects this norm. Now, we also looked at not only this norm, but will it spread to other norms? And it did. Same effect. So it's not only that the littering increased, but also other norm-violating behavior in that setting will increase. So what does help? Cues of respect. This is the one that helped the most. We did this is one of the experiments in this line that we did. Well, we looked at how many people would help, be pro-social, the pro-social norm of helping. Help this girl, which is kind of clumsy, this is Ellen, She tries to get her oranges into the bag. Unfortunately, they roll on the pavement. We wanted to know how many people would help this girl. So we had a control setting, no cues of norm-violating behavior. Then we had a condition where the participants met a Confederate forehand or saw a Confederate forehand which dropped a piece of paper or an empty soda can, picked it up again, clearly conforming to the anti-litter norm. And then a third condition, somebody sweeping the sidewalk, somebody standing there sweeping the pavement, which in our idea was the strongest cue of respect for that norm. The results reflect that. The highest was in the somebody standing there sweeping the sidewalk. Now, what can we learn from this whole set of experiments? What conclusions can be derived, and for policy especially? The influence of norms is greatly influenced by the respect we see for other norms. There is also an important implication from that. We talked about legislation and do you want to make something mandatory, and do we resign to, first of all, make something a rule? There is a price to be paid for that policy. If you know at forehand that a lot of people think nobody's complying to a certain norm, making it a very strong rule not only doesn't work, but it has a very negative effect. And this is the highest price on other rules and norms because of this inhibiting effect. Now, as the respect goes up, if you focus people more on respect, so will the influence of norms. You've seen the prohibition signs. When you use them, make sure that the environment is aligned with the prohibition sign. Another, maybe the most important, it's not order that has the strongest effect, it's restoring order. Now, think about the person sweeping the streets. I don't know how it's arranged here, but normally in the Netherlands it's often that we have people cleaning the streets, doing all this. They do it for practical reason early in the morning. Nobody on the streets, they can work. What you're missing out on with all these uses is the great effect it has on the respect of other norms. You want these people inside where everybody can see it. When it comes to norm-violating behavior, we need a lot of persons to weaken a norm. We need the majority in a way. When it comes to strengthening norms, one person can make a difference.